this last year was a big hole in all our lives.
The coronavirus is the biggest threat this country has faced for decades, and this country is not alone.
Record number of people have tested positive for coronavirus in the UK.
All over the world, we're seeing the devastating impact of this invisible killer.
But there was still some hope that maybe the restrictions would be lifted or something would happen. But clearly it got worse. The pandemic spread very quickly and there was some doubt whether it could even be for this year. You know, it's surreal because as I said, we've all grown up with Jalsa, and the first time that we missed it, first time ever you've missed Jalsa, it's a big hole in your life.
For more than a year, coronavirus has impacted our global community. While some parts of the world still grapple with the pandemic, others, like the UK, are returning to normal. The Prime Minister announced an easing of all restrictions from the 21st of June.
Today, the end really is in sight, Mr. Speaker. And a wretched year will give way to a spring and a summer that will be very different and incomparably better.
Of course, this gave hope to those living in the UK. After a year of lockdown, a year of no social interactions whatsoever, no social activities, we're finally able to go out and meet family and friends. For Ahmadis living in the UK, there was more good news. As Huzur Aqdas Ayyadahullah Ta'ala bin Nasril Aziz instructed Afsar Jalsa Salana to begin preparing for Jalsa Salana UK 2021.
चलो आओ नजारा फिर करे एक बार जलसे का चलो आओ नजारा फिर करे एक बार जलसे का समेटे बरकतें उसकी करे दीदार जलसे का.
Last year, we didn't have Jalsa Salana as we know it. And this year, we're still living in unprecedented times. We don't know what kind of impact it will have on Jalsa Salana. So let's go together to meet the team preparing for Jalsa Salana UK 2021.
तबीयत को कराराए सजे दरबार जलसे का.
The first person we meet is the highest ranking officer in charge for Jalsa Salana, Nasir Khan Sahib. He has been in this position since 2011 and we asked him about his team.
I have a huge team that is with me that does an exceptional job that includes 10 Naib officers. And underneath them is a Nizamat. There's a full team that works under all of those officers. Each department has its own role, so they divide, each Naib officer probably has another 10 or 12 departments working under that Naib officer.
A big team for big responsibility. He and his team will be converting an empty field into a bustling city that usually hosts 40,000 guests. But this year is different.
Right now, they're obviously all out external gatherings are banned. What they're planning to do is lift all the restrictions on the 21st, which includes masks, social distancing. They're removing all of that. But we are still preparing a Jalsa with very many health and safety standards which comply with COVID. So we'll still have some social distancing in our program. Our risk assessments that we've done and we're presenting to the council, we're saying that even if the restrictions are lifted, we'll have a restriction on people who've had both vaccinations or certain age groups, and so the numbers will be a lot less. It'll be a UK-only Jalsa, so we know international guests, even though the international travel is going to be lifted. So yeah, it's been tough. It's going to be tough in lots of ways, but it'll be good discipline for us, especially for COVID. We've got a full team in place to include doctors, health and safety advisors, risk assessors. They're all working together to make sure we have a sort of informed decision on anything that we present to Huzur as our plan. it's been presented.
We will be meeting the Coronavirus Committee later on during the preparations of Jalsa Salana.
Very impressed. We've had meetings
But
with them.
first,
They're very impressed.
we are being introduced to Imran Chugtai Sahib.
So Imran Sahib, when you start moving the cabins, MTA want to come and do the whole program on what you're doing here.
He has been managing the site of Jalsa Salana since 2003, which moved to Hadikatul Mehdi in 2007. Today, he is finalizing plans with Nasir Khan Sahib.
अगर सीधा हो फिर तो कोई इशू नहीं
He needs at least 2 bays.
That's
why
the question.
I told them I need until 10 meter from 2 bay we need
अच्छा ये पूछ रहे थे उसको हमारे इफ्तिखार को कि ये ब्रेस ऐसे लगा हुआ है, if we just braced it across at the top. The council has raised some objections about all these cabins that are on site. We've got too many containers, steel containers. So they're asking us to remove these from site. And so we're now reorganizing. We're reorganizing everything, making sure that all these containers are moved from here. But by moving them, we want to move only those that we don't need to disturb. So all the new bedding needs to be put inside our barns, and the old bedding can go to the new site that we're now renting. So all these containers, there's 36 of them, and they're all going to move from here. So now we're reassessing the old mattresses and old bedding that's here.
Nasir Khan Sahib needs to attend to other departments as well. So just before he leaves Hadikatul Mehdi, he holds a quick meeting with the roti plant team.
This system that you have here, it can be. But that plant hasn't been used for how long?
6 years, 7 years.
10 years.
that plant
Yeah. So Huzur very clearly gave us some instructions a couple of years back that we should have a backup roti plant just in case this oven should fail. So we were looking at the possibility of getting a new one, but our team is saying maybe we could use the existing roti plant that we used in Islamabad that's been stored here for many years now. So there was a question of whether we replace it with a new one or not. So they're going to assess it to see if this is a good time, because all the containers are leaving the site. And so if this has to move, then we'll know. If it has to go back in there, then we have to make efforts tomorrow to move the roti plant. So that was the reason why we had this meeting today. So inshallah, we'll know tomorrow what we have to do.
The day comes to an end with lots of decisions made.
Ameen. Jazakallah. Okay, ji. Kal milenge inshallah fir. Jazakallah. Assalamu alaikum. Yeah, no, you have. Kitne chhe? So, right.
The work starts immediately the following day. We return a week after to meet Imran Chugtai Sahib, who has already called in the trucks to start clearing the site.
first day is our project is when we are marking we don't need anything here except measuring tape or strings. So after we done it, then we can show them to the track people to which color is your belong to. Like orange we are give it to the track company, and blue we are give it to the fence company. That tree line is going in between. That is the boundary of the lady side on the left hand side. Wherever we stand at the moment, this whole area is the lady side. And if you can go diagonal to the middle of this field and the half field of the ladies and the right hand side of the men's side.
We have 28 days to prepare for Jalsa Salana, hold the Jalsa Salana, and then wind up everything. Imran Chugtai Sahib will be coordinating with the external companies coming in and setting up the marquees, putting up fences, and bringing in chairs and tables. We will come back to meet him again a few days before the 28-day period commences to see how he prepares the site for the external companies. 9 days to go before the preparations start. We're meeting Sadr Sahib Khudam al-Ahmadiyya today. It is the Jamaat's tradition to appoint the Sadr Khudam al-Ahmadiyya as the Afsar Khidmat Khalq. It is his duty to provide site security and enforce all the new restrictions in place due to coronavirus. After the meeting, we get a chance to speak to him.
The responsibility of Khidmat Khalq is ensuring the safety of Jalsa attendees, coming to Jalsa, attending Jalsa and leaving Jalsa. The security and the safety, that's the critical thing. Now with COVID, there's just an added challenge, with social distancing, ensuring that everyone's double vaccinated, ensuring that the people that are according to the Jamaat criteria that's been set only those members are attending. There's so many added, things that we, have included this year because of the COVID situation, and which may continue in the future as well. Just small things like, getting your temperature checked. Having 4,000 people constantly having their temperature checked isn't easy. Or ensuring that everyone has a negative lateral flow test, right? Making sure that they have the right proof as well isn't easy. But we've put, alhamdulillah, through Huzur's guidance and prayers, we've put, I think, good systems in place. Of course, we can't take the same blueprint that we had for previous Jalsas. The numbers are, of course, smaller, but the challenges have increased with COVID and making it COVID secure. So we have to keep everything that in mind as well, that we've got to change the way we think, change our culture as well in terms of our planning, and which has been a very steep learning curve, but very beneficial for all of us, alhamdulillah.
All planning is done. We are now closer to the 28-day period. The UK government has changed the Freedom Day from the 21st of June to the 19th of July. We go back on site to meet the preparations team. First, we meet with the roti plant team.
Since it was stopped 2 years back, time to time we used to come over the plant, but that is for dry running, so that it may not, in the cold weather especially, when temperature is 6, 7 minus, we used to come. So this is all been, everything is opened and dismantled, cleaned and then put back. We used to run the plant for about 140,000 maximum rotis we made. After Jalsa Salana has told us that this year the guests are maximum 6,000. According to Huzur advice, per head 3 chapatis you have to make. If 16,000, 18,000 chapati is lunch, and 8,000, 10,000 for the evening bags. So it is almost 26,000 or 30,000 chapati we will make this year. It is a job for us is only 4.5 hours.
Next door, we have the kitchen maintenance team.
This year, Jamaat, by the grace of Allah, approved a budget to improve the ventilation and extraction side of the kitchen. We are adding around 10 new fans to extract the hot air out from the canopies, and one big fan to add the air inside the kitchen. There is a certain balance which we have to achieve, inshallah, which will make the life comfortable to some degree.
The new extractor fans are nearly ready. As we head outside, we meet Nasir Khan Sahib. We are given the opportunity to speak to him regarding the final plans and decisions for Jalsa Salana UK.
Well, we were very blessed in that Khalifatul Masih gave us very clear instructions back in May that irrespective of what they do on the 21st of July, and because the pandemic is so serious and lives are being lost, we are not taking this lightly. We are not going to open the gates like the government is doing with the rest of the society. As Huzur said, keep the numbers down to 4,000, which was in line with what was allowable back in May. And we have now kept to that 4,000 socially distant guests will be arriving here. Well, as you know, normally we have 40,000 plus, almost 40,000 people here for Jalsa. So normally about 30,000 are from the UK and 10,000 are from abroad. So the first thing is we've lost the 10,000. We can't have anybody coming from abroad here. It's a UK only attendance Jalsa. So that makes life a little bit easier. You're down to 30,000. Then, as Huzur said, keep the restrictions in place that we currently have in the mosques, which is that no one between the age of, under the age of 18 or over the age of 65 is going to be allowed in to the Jalsa. So that selection, again, brings the numbers down dramatically. And from those, we then have our computerized system, the AIM system, which then randomly selects the guests from that list. And those, then if you get the invitation, you know that you're going to be able to come with the car passes issued at the same time. For many weeks now, we've been coming here to organize the buildings, because that's we can deal with. The council has no restrictions on how we work on the buildings. But so all the kitchen plants, the stores, they've been worked on for the last 4 or 5 months, and everything's been in place for those works to complete. Now we're working on site marking is going on today, but officially our 28 days where we can bring equipment onto site doesn't start until Monday the 19th. So from Monday, inshallah, the marquees will start arriving, all the equipment starts arriving. That's number one, 28 days, number one day. So that's where it all kicks off.
We head over to the fields where Imran Chugtai Sahib is marking the positions of the marquees.
So when is the international Jalsa is happening, we work 3 weeks before start of the 28 days, because is a 3 whole week to installing all the marquees, cabins and other stuff. Because this year is just very small Jalsa, so we needed only 3 days to install everything. Yes, we are to Qibla Rukh for men's marquee and Qibla Rukh for ladies marquee. This is our aim to today. And the second one is between the 2 marquees, we are set up for the MTA and we are going to set up for the Sami Basri. We are quite smaller scale of Jalsa, but we are this year we are adding is the awning on the left and right hand side of the main Jalsa, because our normally Jalsa is 50 meter by 135 meter. But this year is main Jalsa is 25 meter by 120 meter. Because of social distancing, we are make is the awning on the sides, 2 marquees, one on the left hand side of the marquee and one on the right hand side of the marquee.
Well, when do you hand over Jalsa marquee to the Jalsa team?
30th of July.
And this is the date when most of the marquees are going to be handed over to the relevant departments. It is 8:30 a.m. and the first truck arrives. From now on, there's no day off for Imran Chugtai Sahib and his team. The site security has also arrived under the guidance of Afsar Khidmat Khalq. 4 days later, we return to the site. On the day of Eid, many of us were with our families, but Imran Chugtai Sahib has been on site working around the clock for the past few days. This year, Jalsa Salana UK is hosting only 4,000 guests. It is now ever so crucial for MTA to deliver the message of Huzur Aqdas Ayyadahullahu Ta'ala bin Nasrihil Aziz to the millions of Ahmadis around the world. Today, we have the opportunity to meet the Director of Production, Munir Sahib. I am part of his team, and while I am on site, he asks me to assist him.
सजे दरबार जलसे का हर एक दिल की ये ख्वाहिश है हमें कुर्बान मिले उसकी हकीकत में तो मरकज है हमारा यार जलसे का. After some markings and meetings, we get a chance to speak to Munir Sahib.
The vision for Jalsa Salana to happen was quite determined by Hazrat Khalifatul Masih a while ago, that inshallah this year we will not skip the Jalsa, God willing, and preparations started to happen a while ago. However, the size or the type of event that we are able to hold, given the current conditions and the uncertainty that we've been going through, we had to hold a lot of our commitments and bookings for the Jalsa Salana to avert any unexpected situation. So now in the last week things have been confirmed, and God willing it will happen on the prescribed dates. Most of our suppliers are long-term partners in providing and supplying facilities and services to MTA in previous years. Most of the suppliers have been understanding and provided some kind of breakout clauses if necessary, but commitments, verbal commitments at least, have been made, and they've been very supportive. Full commitments were made just in the previous week or two prior to Jalsa. We hope that everything will go as smooth, and today we have the first deployment of MTA's operational area, and that will happen for the next fortnight. The operation of MTA is almost identical to previous years, just with the addition of joining guests virtually, and we plan this year inshallah to get some Jamaats to participate virtually where they're able to gather despite the current situation of COVID around the world. Some countries have more relaxed rules and they're able to gather, and inshallah they will participate. Their vision and their scenes will be shown in the Jalsaga as well as to the rest of MTA viewers, inshallah. So we hope that will be a nice added addition for the international family of Ahmadiyya around the world.
MTA is giving this year's Jalsa Salana UK an international experience.
इमाम वक्त के जो कीमती खुतबात होते हैं, हमारे वास्ते अनमोल एक सौगात होते हैं। दुआओं के खजाने चाँव जैसी बात होते हैं, नहीं कुछ और वो हम दो सना और नात होते हैं। हमारे वास्ते है चश्माए फैजान MTA, खुदाए मेहरबान का है बड़ा एहसान MTA, खुदाए मेहरबान का है बड़ा एहसान MTA.
After 2 days, we organized the meeting with Irfan Qureshi Sahib. He has been heading the coronavirus committee. He shares with us the instructions received by Huzur Aqdas Ayyadahullah Ta'ala bin Nasrihil Aziz so that this year's Jalsa Salana is safe for the attendees.
Huzur Aqdas gave us clear guidance on planning. Under the Jalsa Salana umbrella, this COVID response committee was set up to look at the various possibilities of what needs to happen, and there were different scenarios. We all knew that some kind of Jalsa will take place. We did not know what number or what scale. Huzur gave us guidance as to, yes, you are planning for it, but you're not making immediate payments. So if any payments are to be made, notify Huzur Aqdas directly. One important thing that Huzur guided us was ensuring that you plan with the right number. And how did we get to that number was the government had this guidance within the initial discussions that were going on that an outdoor event of 4,000 people could be held. And that outdoor event of 4,000 people meant that you could have marquees, but 50% of the sides of that marquee, if they're up, that means it could be classed as an outdoor event. And that number allowed us to actually take this to Huzur Aqdas, and then Huzur gave us permission to plan for the 4,000 number.
Huzur Aqdas Ayyadahullah Ta'ala bin Nasrihil Aziz has been guiding the management team of Jalsa Salana throughout and in every aspect of this year's Jalsa Salana UK. Now when we return after 2 days, we find the village nearly ready. Imran Chuktai Sahib seems to be at ease with most of the site handed over to the relevant departments. Today, we're meeting Zahir Khan Sahib, who is managing the setup within the main marquee.
We have the shell, okay, so now how do we fill that shell? Okay, and this year, as you are probably aware, that we have to take into consideration the social distancing element. So what we will start doing and have started today, okay, is starting to mark out, okay, the positioning of all the chairs that will be going in here as an example. So this year we will be having a chair, next to you will be a janmaz, then some space, chair, janmaz. So you'll start seeing that coming together, okay, over the next few days. Obviously there'll still be a chair only area for those that need to chair all the time and can't offer their prayers standing up. There's a lot to do, as you can imagine, but for us is making sure that the environment suits the needs of the time, okay, our guests are comfortable, okay, and the way we position things, the way we mark things, so that when we're offering prayers, everybody's in a straight line. We've got all of these things we need to do. The inauguration this year is on the Thursday, which is the day before the Jalsa itself. Usually it's on the Sunday before. So the time is tight. Yes, of course, we've got less people this year, okay, but the setup is different, okay. Normally, there's a chair area and everybody sits on the floor, whereas this year the science, if you like, behind the seating is different, because we have to consider the social distance element. We have been guided, as always, by Huzur Allah Ta'ala Aziz, okay, in the whole process, as I'm sure you've been hearing, and the guidance that we were given is to ensure that you put social distancing in place, okay, for our guests that are arriving and that will be sitting in the main Jalsagah. The other thing that we've had to consider this year is how quickly we're going to be able to get our guests out and how quickly we're going to be able to get them in. Whereas before, perhaps there's a mass rush, okay, everybody. But this year, we have to try and maintain that social distance as well on exit. So again, we've done some simulation exercises to see how long it would take to, say, get 2,000 people out in an orderly manner. Same applies on when they come in, because as you know, before you go and sit down, you're going to have to take your shoes off. So can you just imagine that I'm walking in, I'm taking my shoes off, what impact that's going to have on the individual behind? So therefore, those are the considerations that we have to have, and that's why we need to work closely again with other teams, Khidmat al-Khalq team, the Androon team, the Baroon team, and then our discipline team inside. So a lot of thought has gone into this, and inshallah, with everybody's prayers and the guidance that we received, inshallah, it will all come to plan.
There's no room for mistakes. He has only 4 days to convert this marquee into Jalsagah. Over the next few days, we can see a lot of activities going on in the marquee.
मोहब्बत ही मोहब्बत है नहीं नफरत किसी से भी इसी पे मुनहसर.
And finally, on the 4th of August, a day before inspection, the marquee seems to be ready. Hadiqatul Mahdi is now ready to receive the guests of the promised Messiah alayhi salam.
बरकतें उसकी करे दीदार जलसा.